I watch recordings.
Okay, let's begin. 8b2. All right, we are on 8b2. We're at the Mishnah. Okay, now the Gemara says as follows: En nos'in nashim b'moed. We do not marry women on Chol HaMoed. Lo betulot, not women that have never been married before, not virgins. V'lo almanot, and not widows. Okay, v'lo b'yamim. And we also don't do yibum. What's yibum? Yibum is if a person has bar minan, a brother. The brother dies without children. The wife, in that scenario, marries his brother in order to be able to have a child with his name and carry on his name in this world. That's the idea of yibum. Okay? Now, unless they do chalitza. Okay? So on Chol HaMoed, we don't get married. We don't, not to the virgin, not to a woman that's already been married before, a widow, and also lo miyavmin. You also don't do yibum. Now, let me just ask you: why does the Gemara have to say lo miyavmin? Every yibum is also almana. No, every yibum is also a widow. You told me not a virgin, not a widow. Then you tell me lo miyavmin.
It's an additional chiyuv.
So the answer is not just additional chiyuv. It's less to do. Why? There's something called, when it comes to Yibum, when we learn Masechet Yevamot, one of the three hardest Masechtot, we get there, that's going to be fireworks, okay? Yeah. However, we got a while. But in that Masechet, it talks about how there's something called Zika. What does Zika mean? It's not a virus. Zika is where that woman, after the brother passes away, there's like already a connection. She's already like tied to like azikim. Azikim like means like handcuffs. She's already chained, to the brother because of the responsibility to give her dead husband this opportunity at life, at eternity. So since it's already like partially done, semi-married, I might think that you could kind of finish it off, and therefore it's not a big deal. So therefore the Gemara says you're still not allowed to do it. Why? It's a simcha, it's a joy for him, because he's never been married, not to this virgin. He's never been married to this widow. She's married to someone else. Her husband died. He's never been married to this girl who was married to his brother. So in each one of these cases, it's a new marriage for him. Simcha hilo. Aval, what?
I thought it was another reason.
Go ahead.
What is it? Tircha, what's it called? What's the...
Tircha yetera?
Huh?
Tircha yetera?
Yeah.
Excessive, what do you mean?
Too much work.
You're getting married again, isn't it?
By the way, this guy's excited about getting married to his sister. No, you're crazy.
Theo, time out.
You're not cutting losses.
Time out. Don't
making losses. You're not cutting.
Time out. Don't jump the gun, because we're gonna get there.
So
Okay. Hold on, I just have a letter to read from. No, I'm sketching.
You asked the question. Why did it mention that? How about better than that? It's just no marriage. It covers everything.
So the chidush is the Gemara is doing something called lo zu afzu. You know what lo zu afzu means? It's like when they're selling you something on the QVC network. These scissors could cut a piece of paper, but wait.
There's more.
There's more. And then it tells you something else it could cut. And then it tells you, but wait. Now it cuts a boot. No one has ever cut a boot with a scissor in their life, except for on the QVC shopping network, okay? So the nikuda is, lo zu afzu means, I'm going to tell you a hidush. You ready? I got another one for you. Why? Because a bitula, we'll see in the reason as to why the Gemara said you're not allowed to. But each one of these is an escalation of a hidush, okay? So we're giving a bigger hidush each time. Aval machziru et grushato. But if you got divorced, you're allowed to remarry your divorcee on Chol HaMoed. Okay, so let's just go back to Rashi. Rashi drops the ultimate bomb over here, right? Rashi says, "Why can't you do it? You're having joy on the holiday. We don't want you to have too much joy on Chol Moed. We don't know why, but the Mishnah says you can't do it because it's joy." Says Rashi, "Machzir grushato." He's getting married to his divorcee. De'ena simcha kol kach. Ultimate dagger. Rashi just unnecessarily is spitting. What's it called? He's throwing shade. It's not the ultimate simcha. He was already married to her, Yanni. It's not new. Okay, fine. Says the Gemara.
If a guy has to go to war tomorrow, is he allowed to marry her tonight?
If a guy has to go to war tomorrow, is he allowed to marry? No. Why would he be able to? Why would that change anything?
Can't marry tomorrow.
to be married. He wants to be married. She wants to be married.
From the Mishnah, we have no exclusions, no exceptions as of yet. The only thing we've learned is you're not allowed to do this marriage now. What's the reason why you're not allowed to do this marriage now? For some reason, the Mishnah, he don't like joy. It's like, listen, before we're like, don't bring don't make the guy sad on the Yom Tov. Now we're like, don't make the guy happy. You know what Chol Moed is supposed to look like? You need to be smoked out on weed, no emotion, just like this. That's what Chol Moed is. That's what we're saying. So let's take a look. Yes.
The brother could only do the mitzvah of
Yibum
if it's a source of joy. If he just wants to do the mitzvah of marrying his late brother's wife and it doesn't bring him joy, he cannot.
It doesn't matter. We say that a new marriage that brings someone joy. Okay. Now, but you're asking a great question. What if I don't particularly like this person? What if it's a forced, arranged marriage, even with a virgin, lebitulah? I'm a heavy Hasidic boy back in the day. They told me to marry this girl. I don't want to marry. They're forcing me. Could they force me on Chol Moed? There's no joy. The Chachamim are saying that there's an inherent joy in getting married, even if it's not that you're jumping up and down and dancing. There's an inherent joy. And I think that that's something maybe we could discuss in a larger way in a different time. Okay. Says the Mishnah, Ve'oseh isha tachshita b'moed. A woman is allowed to do her makeup. She's allowed to make up her face, yani. On the holiday, she could put on all of her, makeups, her creams, whatever it is. Rabbi Yehuda says, Lo tasud mipnei shenizul hula. She's not allowed to put sud. What does the word sud come from? The root is seed. Okay, so that's like a limestone. They would put like a paste on their face. Now, I first read this Gemara. I was like, "What in the heck is the Gemara talking about?" But then I remembered there's something called a mud mask. What are they doing?
Not the one from the grave.
They're putting not the same. They didn't take it off the stone, right? Maybe in between the two graves in the grass, they saw some extra lime, right? So they allowed to put the lime. You can't put the lime on the face. How come? Isn't that part of adornments? It's part of the makeup. The Gemara says, because it's nivul. Nivul means something which makes you look less beautiful. So what are we talking about over here? Two different opinions as to why they were putting this lime on the face. One opinion is to get rid of hair on the face. Okay, so they would put a paste on, and then they would pull it off. Okay, so that's one item. What aisle is that? Aisle 4 in the Dwayne. Aisle 4 in Dwayne Reed. Bottom shelf. Okay, now it's locked up. So number one is lime. Number two is it's not to take off the hair. Why are we putting the lime on? To redden the cheeks. Okay? Now, by the way, I don't know, that there's someone here in the community, just all of a sudden the guy comes in, his whole face is red. Like, what's the matter? Where'd you go? Yeah, exactly. And there's nowhere, he's here this morning. Huh? No. Legit red. Turns out, what'd he do? Abus Hayato. He went with his daughter to get a chemical peel. Like his daughter wanted to go. He thought it would be a nice thing to do with it. No idea what he was getting himself into. They literally, chemically, they're peeling off your face. So his face got red. Why are you doing it? Because ultimately, in the aftermath, it's going to make your skin beautiful. Okay? Says the Mishnah, you can't do that on Yom Tov. Why? Because now when you're doing the treatment, how's your face look? How's it feel? Terrible. It's uncomfortable. You're distressed. It's ripping your skin off. So even though later on it's going to be good, but that's after Chol Moed. Right now on Chol Moed, you can't do that, says Rabbi Yehuda. So he's giving us an exclusion to the makeup regime that they're able to do. Says the Gemara. Says the Mishnah. Mishnah says, Ha'edyot tofer kedarko. Someone who doesn't really know what they're doing is able to stitch sew anything in a normal way. We already had this idea. Right? If you're a regular guy, your stitches are not professional. So it's not a high level of work. So you could stitch in a normal way. Remember we talked about this? Where the guy he's hitting the stick in the ground for the animals? Remember that? Mm-hmm. We talked about a guy who knows how to do it, a guy who doesn't know how to do it, professional exterminator, not professional exterminator. Over here, what are we talking about? Professional sewer. Seamstress, whatever, I don't know what the male verb. What's the tailor? Excellent, okay? So, ha'edyot tofer kedarko. The hedyot is able to be tofer, no problem. But someone who is a professional tailor, machliv. What does he do? He does some form of shinui in the stitches. We're going to see exactly that we've translated it here in the translation. It's been translated as irregular stitches, but really the idea is a shinui, and we're going to see it when we get to the Gemara. Last but not least, says the Mishnah. Again, the Gemara is going to explain everything that we're talking about. Says the Mishnah, umisargin et hamitot. What does this soragim mean? In Israel, they would put on the outside of the bars on the window. You ever see that in Yerushalayim? You see 5th floor, kid is hanging out in the bars outside of his window over the street, right? Iron bars. Those are called soragim, okay? These are things that are designed to be able to keep something in its place, all right? So, Misargin et hamitot, says the Mishnah, if you're trying to keep up the bed, and what you're going to do is you're going to take these basically these ropes, and you're going to weave them one over the other, and you're going to create almost like with all the boxes, like a web, right? And that's going to be what's going to hold up. You see it sometimes underneath, the old school sun loungers. It had that like alternating, like a weave, but it was large enough. A box weave. There was holes in between the box weave. Says the Mishnah, Misarginta, off the back of talking about sewing, we're now going to talk about something which looks similar like that. Umisarginta mitot, but you're allowed to put this interweaving box weave of stuff to be able to hold up a bed. You're allowed to tighten it. What is he telling you?
You can't
make it. You can fix it. We had this 1,000 times. You can't make the ditch, you can fix the ditch. You can't make the coffin, you can fix the coffin. You can't make the kever, you can fix the kever. Everything we're trying to find, tircha, bana yitera. Okay, excellent. So
the whole idea of breaking down all these items is not to be so happy to take away from the holiday, or not to be so sick.
Exactly what the Gemara is going to talk about right now. Okay? Now, here we're introducing a new concept. We ended the Mishnah by talking about something that's very familiar to all of us. Tircha yetera, not tircha yetera, melacha, with the shinui. That's all pretty familiar because we've covered that already. But the beginning of the Mishnah is introducing an entirely new concept. The Gemara says, V'chi simcha hilo, ma have. What's the problem? Don't you guys remember the song? V'samachta b'chagecha. The song says it all. Come on. Why can't I do simcha? V'chi simcha lo ma'ave. What's the problem? It's the Gemara, a bunch of answers. Are you ready for the plethora, for the myriad answers that we're going to receive? Amar Rabbi Yehuda Mashma Rabbi Yehuda said in the name of Shmuel. V'chein Amar Rabbi Elazar Rabbi Yosha. And so too also Rabbi Elazar in the name of Rabbi Yoshia. V'armi, then other people say it wasn't Rabbi Elazar in the name of Rabbi Yoshia, it was Rabbi Elazar in the name of Rabbi Hanina. Why do we care? Why does the Gemara go through such bother? Remember, because later on in some other Masechet, you're going to find Rabbi Hanina says something different. If this is the same Rabbi Hanina, we have a problem. So what do we do when we have a problem? We'll adjust one of the Rabbi Haninas. So therefore it's very important to know who said what. Okay? Says the Gemara. So this Rabbi Yehuda Bar Shmuel, or Rabbi Elazar in the name of Rabbi Yoshia, or Rabbi Elazar in the name of Rabbi Hanina. You can't mix one simcha with another simcha. V'samachta b'chagecha. The mitzvah is to be happy on the holiday. Now you're mixing in another simcha. One is taking away from the other. Simple. So if you're going to marry on the Chol HaMoed, when you have the happiness of the holiday, you're mixing in another simcha. You can't do that. By the way, loads of practical applications for this. I have a Brit Milah. I rented out the whole shul, doing a fat breakfast. Some guy says, listen, my son's getting bar mitzvah the same day. Let's share the whole item. I'll give you half.
You're taking away from the berit.
Ma'avin simcha b'simcha. You're mixing two things. Sometimes you got to go, you got to mute.
Or two bris.
Right? Or
Two bris.
two brisses is a very interesting thing.
Having a bris on the holiday.
Two bris is a very interesting thing. Twins brisses, I've been to twins brisses, and what do?
You gotta wait.
You gotta wait. So you wait for Ma'avin simcha b'simcha. But the rest of the meal, it's all the same. The answer is in a situation where you can't differentiate, because it's the same family, with the same kids, with the same mother and father, what are you going to do? Right? But in another scenario, the idea of mixing simachot together is not considered a good thing, because we want each simcha to have its own simcha, its own joy. Let's just try and understand that for a minute on a hashkafic level. Why are you making a whole party? To show gratitude to HaKadosh Baruch Hu for what He's given you, for this great gift of a marriage, of a brit milah, of a bar mitzvah, whatever the case might be. Mixing the party means that there's two things I'm trying to get away with. Imagine you try this on your wife. Honey, your birthday, anniversary, thing, push, all of it, one gift.
That's what I do.
You're a dead man.
Main item.
try every year.
I do that every
You're
year.
a dead
I
man.
do 6 in 1.
If you try doing that to your wife on Chol HaMoed, they're going to dig you a new grave. They don't even have to adjust one. Okay, says the Mishnah. So the first reason is you can't mix simachot. That's why you can't marry. And since all of these are simachot, you can't marry on Chol HaMoed. Rabbi Bar Avuna Amar. Rabbi Avuna says, No. We're not worried about the interleaving. We're not worried about you mixing simcha b'simcha. We're worried about you're going to forget all about the holiday. Since you're going to be so busy going after this big party that you're making for the wedding, what's going to happen? All of your thoughts, all of your efforts, you're going to go to the wedding. By the way, I was thinking also, maybe one of the concerns over here, remember we said a halakha that you're not allowed to hire a professional eulogizer before 30 days before the holiday. Right. Why? What are we nervous about?
Taking the money.
You're going to use the money you're supposed to use for the holiday on this. How much more so in this reason now does that reason jump? Yeah. Pops. Since you have this Simchat wedding party, what are you going to spend the extra money you have on? The wedding or the Seder? Right. Of course the wedding. So therefore, what's going to lose out? What's going to lose out is the holiness of the holiday. So second reason. Third reason. Amalei Abai Rabbi Yosef. Abai said to Rabbi Yosef, had the Rabba Bar Avuna Deravu, sorry, not third reason yet. Rabba Bar Avuna in Deravu, the Amar, it's really already something that Rav said before. So this is not a new idea. We already have a source from this in Rav. The Amar Rav Daniel Bakatin Amar Rav. Daniel Bakatin said, in the name of Rav, Minayin She'enu Sinashim Moed. How do you know you don't marry women? On Chol Moed, Shene'emar, by the way, Joey, you didn't get me. I thought you were going to catch this.
It's your item.
It's your item. How do you want the Mishnah to read?
Don't get married.
Don't get married. Right. How does Rav say it? Pulls a JC. Right? Minayin She'enu Sinashim Moed. How do you know you don't marry women in the holiday? Shine'emar, like it says, v'samachta b'chagecha, you'll rejoice on the holiday. B'chagecha v'lo b'ishtecha. The Rav says that there was a limud, there was a derash in the pasuk that said, we already told you you're in the holiday. In other words, it says in the all the things, it tells you you're in the holiday. All it needed to tell you was, v'samachta. Why does it say v'samachta b'chagecha? It's trying to tell you, focus your joy on this, not on something external, not on your wife. Okay? So the derasha is coming to exclude you specifically from marrying on the holiday. Clear?
As opposed to mixing a joy with a joy.
As opposed to mixing a joy with a joy. Yeah. So Rabbi Bar Avuna said that you're going to leave one and go to the other, right? What does it say over here? Don't go and be misameach with your wife. You should be misameach in the holiday.
Simple.
Okay? Yeah. Now, by the way, with a little bit of elbow grease, I could squeeze in the first one too. Because maybe you read it, v'samachta b'chagecha, rejoice in your holiday, v'lo b'ishtecha, doesn't mean, this one, or this one. It means, I want you to rejoice in the holiday, and not also in your wife. So with a little bit of elbow grease, we could squeeze the first one in. But Abaye doesn't say that. Okay? Abaye does not say that. So we're not gonna squeeze it in.
What do you mean?
Abaye, who said that it's the same item, right? He doesn't try and say that the other guy is, yeah? Okay, fine. Let's continue. The Gemara continues now with the third reason. Ula says, no, you're gonna be very busy preparing a wedding. You know what it takes to make a wedding?
No.
Morris?
Nothing.
Tircha yitera. Sorry, what? Kol no. There's a lot of effort. You're moving tables, you're doing this, you're doing that. Norma don't work on Chol HaMoed. She's in Cabo. Okay, says the Gemara, right? Rav Yitzchak Nafla. Norma never thought in her life she would be in a Gemara class. Norma Cohen, I'm shouting you out from the Safra synagogue. You made it into the Gemara class. Okay, it should be Ilui Neshama for your father Be'ezat Hashem, Began Eden Mikedem. Okay, says the Gemara, Ezra ben Nechama, right?
Yes.
Okay, says the Gemara, Rabbi Yitzchak Nafcha Amar, Rabbi Yitzchak, because you did one for that, didn't you? Was that you? Someone donated a breakfast in the class with his name. Okay, Rabbi Yitzchak Nafcha Amar. Rabbi Yitzchak Nafcha used to say, what does Nafcha mean?
Nafcha?
Yeah, blacksmith. He was called Rabbi Yitzchak Nafcha because he was a blacksmith. Okay, Rabbi Yitzchak Nafcha Amar. Rabbi Yitzchak Nafcha used to say, "Mepnei bitul pirya v'rivya." This is a whole wild animal. Look at this. So the first two reasons are about the joy that you're having is going to mean that it's going to take away from the holiday, either by mixing or by supplanting. Third reason is tircha yitera. We're worried that with all the effort of the wedding, you're going to go too far in the work that you're doing to prepare the wedding. What's the third reason? Third reason is you're not going to have kids. You're going to push off having kids. Why? Every guy, when does he want to get married? He wants to get married when he's off for work. So if the guy has holiday days off, Chol Moed days off, when's he going to push his wedding to? To Chol Moed. That way he could just relax with his wife, chill. So what's going to mean? The guy's going to wait now 6 months because he got engaged right after Sukkot. He's going to wait for Pesach. 6 months went by, the guy didn't have kids. Right? So what we're doing is, we're pushing off the mitzvah of Pirya V'Rivya. Now this is very interesting. Why? Because in Chacham Ovadia, a lot of times, when he gives us a heter to do something, to get married, maybe in a time that's not the best time to get married, Chacham Ovadia always says, did the guy have kids yet? Is he ravak? Is he single? If he is, the mitzvah of having children supersedes, so we'd rather him get married, even though it's not the best time to get married, let him get married, even in the 3 weeks, yani, like he says that, right? Because it's the first time getting married, let him have children, it's a big mitzvah. That's what Chacham Ovadia says, okay? Here the Gemara doesn't make that dispensation. It doesn't say how many kids you have. Why? Because the Gemara says, Amar Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva said, if you did work in the daytime, ba'erev, in the evening, al tanach yadecha, do not let your hand rest. In other words, keep working even at night. Don't only work in the day. Says Rabbi Akiva, if you had children when you were young, have children when you're old. If you had students when you were young, he says, have students when you're old. Understand what we're saying here. Rabbi Akiva, when he was young, all of his students died. Rabbi Akiva's legacy is saved even though 24,000 students die, because he starts again 5 students. And those 5 students are credited with giving us the body of Mishnah and Gemara, of Torah, saving Torah Sheba'al Peh. Okay? So Rabbi Akiva says, even though you had already, gotta have more when you get older. So the Gemara over here is telling you, it doesn't make it specific on whether or not he has one kid. Because maybe he won't have the mitzvah of Pirya V'Rivya the first time, but there's still a mitzvah in having every child, and therefore will allow the marriages. We did not want the marriages on Chol Moed, because then people will be pushing off the mitzvah of having children. So recognize this. According to this reasoning, there's nothing wrong with having kids on Chol Moed, with getting married on Chol Moed. The first 3 reasons were reasons why we don't want you getting married on that day. The samcha, what's it called? The watering it down, switching it, or working too hard. Those are all about Chol Moed. Here, nothing to do with Chol Moed. If we let you do it on Chol Moed, you're going to wait 6 months. I don't want you to wait 6 months. You know, I was thinking in my mind, maybe part of what the Gemara says, and we all see this, couples that engaged for too long, a lot of times what happens?
Break up.
Yeah, you know why? Because the relationship has no more upward motion.
It loses.
So there's only one way to go.
Problems.
Yeah, they start finding problems.
But what
So
if it's
maybe,
the right time to get married?
what do you mean?
I got engaged yesterday. Tomorrow's Chol Moed.
Yeah.
No differentiation. Once we make a gezerah, for the vast majority, we can't make exceptions for this. We made this gezerah on such a case.
You said something like that last time.
Right?
But it's so.
That was the Marit Ayin.
Marit
If
Ayin.
you say it's not in the Marit
Yeah,
Ayin,
and that was the Tosafot that we brought.
Marit Ayin, then it works in the house.
Right, remember that was-
Doraita.
And that was the Tosafot that we brought, right? Tosafot's asking, how come this time, how come that time? Doraita, Derabanan. Okay. Says the Gemara, okay? Norma, we also learned Tosafot over here. Okay. Says the Gemara, Metve, let's ask a question. On all of these opinions that you just gave me, 4 different reasons why you can't get married on Chol Moed. Kol elu she'amiru asurin nisab moed, all these women, i.e., Betula, i.e. Almana, i.e. Yibama. Okay, those 3 women, you can't get married on the holiday. Mutarin nisa erev haregel. You're allowed to get married before the holiday. That answers your question, Morris. I just got engaged now. I want to get married. No, get married today. Fadal. Go to Rabbi's office. Okay?
So why wouldn't you ever be able to do that?
You're able to get married before. You just can't get married on Chol Moed. You want to get married erev Yom Tov? Fadal.
I wonder if can you do chalitza on Chol Hamoed?
Chalitza and Chol Hamoed, it's a good question. Yeah, it's a good question. Why? Because on the one hand, we talked about simcha. The question would be, is there the opposite? Is there sadness associated with chalitza? That's going to be the question.
What's chalitza again?
The spitting, the taking
to
off
not
the
get
shoe.
married.
I think it's
Yeah.
sad.
Oh, the spitting on the.
I don't know. I'm saying
It's a sad thing.
I'm saying it's not obvious. Why?
Chacham
You're
David,
already married a little.
No, yeah, you're already married a little bit, but maybe the girl actually would like to be set free.
Chacham David.
Maybe the guy don't want to get married to her. That's why he's doing chalitza.
We had Shabbat with Chacham David.
Yeah.
That was amazing. I tell you about it. He was talking about chalitza, and they were crying like crazy. It was
Out
a
of
profoundly
happiness or
sad.
sadness?
No, it was a sad.
Who was crying?
The woman.
What do you mean? He was telling you that she cried.
Yeah, he was telling us the whole ceremony.
Part of it said is that because now they don't continue the legacy of the first
Of the brother,
dad,
yeah.
the brother,
Sad,
the
missing
the
the-
name doesn't continue.
Yeah.
Missing the first
sadness,
one.
but they might not want to get.
They might not want to do it. Also,
Bittersweet.
Also the Gemara. Today we don't really do yibum. The Gemara says in the name of Abba Shaul, Masechet Yevamot. We don't do yibum anymore. Why? Because once upon a time people were very pious. You could marry someone for like the right reason. Here, the guy he's with a woman he's really not allowed to be with. It's his brother's wife. It's Asur. Right? Only reason why it's mutar is because of yibum. Like as an example, if she has one kid, there's no yibum. You can't marry if you want to. Asur, even after death. You're not allowed to marry your brother's wife. Only in the case of yibum. Abba Shaul says in the later generations when our level of spirituality went down and a person, he's getting excited by the act of intimacy and he's not in the right head. It's not for Kedusha. It's not to be able to have a child to stand up his brother's name. So we went safe. We went only chalitza because really it's aib if it's not for 100% pure. Okay? So today, chalitza, there's an element of sadness, but there might also be, since it's anyway not possible, it allows her to go out and get married to somebody else. When a woman finally gets a divorce and she's been waiting for that get for a long time, it's like the happiest day of her life. She's happy she got divorced on the day of a wedding. It's probably why they got divorced. Either way. Okay, says the Gemara. Fine? So, but it's an excellent question. Says the Gemara, Mutarin nisa ever regel. So the what we just learned, we just learned in this in the Braita is that all the cases that we told you no on Chol HaMoed, we're giving you a big fat yes when it comes to the evening before the holiday, Erev HaRegel. The Gemara says, Kasha lekulu. It's a question on all of them. So let's just go slowly through each one of the answers. The first answer is, you're mixing Simcha b'Simcha. You're mixing Simcha b'Simcha. You get married, Erev Hag, you have 7 days now. And if it's Almanah, you have 3 days. Those 3 days, or those 7 days, where do they go into? Chol HaMoed. So I have the Simcha of a new wife, the Simcha of the Sheva Berachot, of being a new wife, on Chol HaMoed. Same problem. So why would you be allowed? If you're telling me that I'm not allowed for that reason, you see that that's not the reason, because you see over here that you're allowed to get married every. What's the second reason? Same thing. You're being rejoicing in your new wife. What's the third reason? Excess effort. What do you mean? Putting on a Sheva Berachot. Excess effort. You're not allowed to do it. What's the fourth reason? Fourth reason is we don't want you to.
You're too happy.
We don't want you to push off getting married, right, for the time that you're off. Same item. Because if you let the guy get married on Erev Hag, the guy's going to say, listen, maybe I'm going to get married before the Hag, but of all the days I was off, in a regular time I have to take 7 days off of work, Sheva Berachot. Now, almost all that time is taken on vacation days. So you solved none of the problems by moving it to Erev. So it must be that you guys, with those 4 answers, you're all wrong. One question, 4 dead bodies. Okay? Beauty. Says the Gemara, lo kasha. No, not a question. Limadama mishum simcha. The one that says the reason is because of simcha, i.e. the first 2 opinions. Okay? Ikar simcha chad yomahu. When we said simcha, and we were worried about your simcha overwhelming, or supplanting that's only on the day of the wedding. Day 2, day 3, happy days, but it's not like the wedding day. Sheva Berachot is beautiful, but no one thinks that it's the same level of happiness as the wedding. So therefore, according to those opinions, it's not a problem that you have Sheva Berachot on the days of Chol HaMoed. Okay? Second answer, which is really for the third answer that we came across, the third answer that says that it's because of excessive work, same item. Who goes Majnun? You go Majnun for a wedding. You're building stages. You have a wedding day, a dance floor. Everything's Majnun. Sheva Be'achot, you're doing it no do. It's a big tirha. It's not a big deal. So therefore, we're not worried if he does Sheva Be'achot on the holiday, not an issue. Okay? Says the Gemara, according to the last reason, Bishum Bitul Periyaviyah, for Bitul Periyaviyah, L'chad Yoma Lo Mashi Inish Nafshe. Okay? For this extra benefit of saving a day of the work, the guy's not going to change his wedding day plans. Since it's not like he has all the days off, right? Because he's going to get married Erev Hag. So it's not the same that we're worried about him getting married on Chol Hamoed. Okay? So the Gemara basically answered why this is not a question on the 4 reasons. Now the Gemara says, okay, let's try and attack the actual item itself. You started off with a principle that you said, that you can't mix one simcha with another simcha on the holiday. Can I give you a wild story? There was a great rabbi, his name was Rav Meir of Premishlan. Okay? Rav Meir of Premishlan was an person of the most insane emunah. Anyway, his son passed away on the holiday. And he said to God, how could you do this to me, that my son is passing away on the holiday? Whatever you do is for the best. And I accept whatever you do with simcha. But you're making me have simcha on the holiday, and you can't mix simcha with simcha. If that's not the most Majnun story you ever heard in your life, I don't know what kind of, I need to mix with you more. Says the Gemara, okay? How do you know? Where are you getting this from that you can't mix one simcha with the other? I would have thought, adraba, better, more simcha, fantastic. Because it says, "V'yashlu beit hayetachag v'cho Yisrael limo kal gadol milavo hamat ad nachal Mitzrayim lifnei Hashem Elokeinu shivat yamim arba'asa yom." Let me just give you the example of what's going on over here. David HaMelech, what does he do? He can't build a Beit HaMikdash. Why can't David build a Beit HaMikdash?
Because he killed all of
Excellent.
people.
He's got blood on his hands. The house of God is a house of peace. You can't build a house of peace if you're a man of war. That's what Hashem says in David HaMelech. David HaMelech is desperate to build the Beit HaMikdash for Hashem. So much so that he says in Tehillim, how could I build my palace? Right? He promises Hashem, I won't go. I won't have my own tent. I won't sleep in my own bed. Ad imtza makom l'Hashem, until I find a place for your house. That's what David HaMelech says to God. So what does he do? He finds the place. He buys the property. He starts making all the preparations he can for the Beit HaMikdash. He just stops short of doing anything in the actual building because he knows God won't let him do that. Shlomo HaMelech takes over, builds the whole Beit HaMikdash. That's why they called it Bet Shlomo, the house of Shlomo. Okay? So the Beit HaMikdash is built by King Solomon. When they finally finish the Beit HaMikdash, they have this unbelievable, joyous inauguration. How long does it take? 14 days, says the Pasuk. 7 days they celebrated, and 7 days. Okay, so they celebrated 14 days straight. Every day, drinking, eating, korbanot, okay, to inaugurate the holy temple in Jerusalem. Okay? Says the Gemara, what were the 7 days? 7 days were for the Beit HaMikdash. The next 7 days were for the holiday of Sukkot. Says the Gemara, ho ho ho. This is a mind blower. Says the Gemara, what does that mean? That means, can anyone figure this out? What is 7 days before the holiday?
Oh, you have the holidays. Oh, you have Kippur.
Kippur is in those 7 days, right? Before. And what are they doing every day? Eating and drinking. That year, Shlomo HaMelech, when they instituted the temple, nobody kept Kippur fasting. They ate and they drank and they celebrated, what's it called? In the Beit HaMikdash. Now, wild. Isur Karet.
Exemption.
The Gemara is going to pull that apart. Okay? But what do we see from here? Okay? So there's 7 days and the days go into Sukkot. One second. Why did he celebrate 7 days for the Beit HaMikdash? And then another 7 days for Sukkot. If you're allowed to mix Simcha b'Simcha, what should he have done? Wait a few more days, celebrate the holiday plus the Beit HaMikdash in the same days.
But then you could say,
What does everyone need to take 2 weeks off of work for? right?
Hashem,
don't wanna mix
korbanot,
the-
all that stuff, you can lose the opportunity.
Do it on the holidays.
You're losing the opportunity.
No, but the Gemara is bringing a proof to that. If you're allowed to do mix simcha, then they would have. The fact that they didn't proves that you can't do it. That's how the Gemara is proving this idea of emavin simcha b'simcha. Okay? And umiavad shiv'a lehacha ulehacha. And therefore, we had to have separately 7 for this and separately 7 for that. So you see, you can't mix simcha b'simcha. You can't prove from that. Maybe the reason why he kept 7 and then 7 is, you know why? Because once he hit completion, on the day he finished the temple, he had to celebrate. That took him 7 days. Can't push it off.
That's my point.
So he did 7 days of celebration. When those days ended, then he went into Sukkot. But you can't prove from here. But if he would have finished the Beit HaMikdash on the first day of Sukkot, then he would have done both at the same time. So from here, what does it say? It says that they celebrated 7 and 7, 14 days. I know that they celebrated separately. You want to prove from there that you can't mix simcha b'simcha. Maybe there's no proof. Maybe the reason why they didn't mix them is because it fell out the 7 days before. So he couldn't make it, he couldn't wait. But if it would have fallen out on the day, so you have no proof. It's the Gemara. What do you mean? Ibayele l'shiurei purta. What should he have done? Leave one item not done. And then it's not done. 7 days later, you finish it, and then you finish it at the same time, and then you could have mixed it. So you're telling me it's not a proof, because maybe it only happens to be that way. Yeah, but if it only happened to be that way, Shlomo, smartest of all men, he could have figured out something that was not done. Okay? The Gemara answers, Shiurei binyan Beit HaMikdash lo mishayrinan. No, you're right. Shlomo HaMelech could have delayed. But when the Beit HaMikdash is ready, the Beit HaMikdash is ready. You don't wait for nobody. Aib alek, that the Beit HaMikdash is sitting there, and what are you doing? You're not going to celebrate the Beit HaMikdash being built for God. You know why? Because you want to consolidate your holiday days from work. Mo'aib, number one. Second thing is, it will be obvious to everybody that that's what they were trying to do. And that was disrespectful. So either because everyone will be able to know, or because once you hit that time, you have to celebrate it because it's done. To wait after that is disrespectful. Either way, so the Gemara says they could not have waited. So since they could not have waited, because lo mishayrinan, so now we don't have a proof, right? Because maybe the reason why they separated separately is because he couldn't make it last longer. Ibailu l'shiure ba'ama kalya orev, says the Gemara, I have an answer. Maybe he couldn't delay the finishing of the Beit HaMikdash because he had a mandate to build the Beit HaMikdash. How fast do you go? As fast as you can. But there's one spot that the Shlomo HaMelech could have played with. Why? The Beit HaMikdash at the top, the roof, came to a point, but not really a point. It came to El Amah Techalenim El-Mala. Okay? There was a slot at the top that was 1 amah wide, 1.5 to 2 feet wide. Okay? On that slot, because it was not pointy, what's going to land on that slot?
Birds.
Well, the birds. What do you see on all the windows over here?
Spikes.
You have that piece of metal with the spikes. That was called in the language of the Gemara, Mechalya Orev. Ama Kalya Orev. They called them the Orev, which was the raven. It was the raven chasers.
Why'd they leave it open? For the smoke to go out?
Sorry?
Why'd they leave it open? The roof.
No, it's not. It's not open.
No, there is. It's covered with pipes and stuff, but it's a little bit open.
It's sealed. Sealed with the metal.
Oh, that's not what I just read.
Okay? No, it's not built. It's not a complete seal because it's not regular roof. But still, you have it closed off with that metal of the crow chase, of the raven chasers, right? For those of you who are not so Gemara friendly, on this past Sunday we experienced the raven chasers. Okay, Amakalya Orev. No one NFL fans. Okay, Amakalya Orev Tzorech Binyan Habayitu. When it comes to the Ama of the Orev, you can't. That's not an accessory that he could have delayed because it's not part of the building. Once he's closing, he's putting those on top of the Ama at the top of the binyan, at the top of the building. Now that's a part of the binyan. Once it's a part of the binyan, what do we say already? You can't delay. So the Gemara says, you try to answer by telling me this is an accessory to the building. Yeah, but once you accessorize the building, now you need it for the building. And therefore, he could not have delayed, therefore we have no proof. Ela, so therefore, our proof from the fact that they had 7 and 7 is not a good proof. Okay? Ela, says the Gemara, midimiyater kra, from the fact that the Torah, the pasuk added an extra, not the Torah, from the fact that the Navi added extra words, we're learning a dirasha from there. What's the extra words? Michdi. Let's take a closer look. Ktiv 14 yom. It says 14 days. Now, Shivat Yamim, if you tell me it was 7 days and 7 days, you don't have to tell me it was 14 days. I know what 7 and 7 is. Lamali. Why did it have to tell me 14 and then divided 7 and 7? Shma mina, hani lechud. The reason why it told me 14, 7 and 7 is so that you should realize that this 7 and 7 didn't just happen to be because of a scheduling conflict, because Shlomo HaMelech for the first time found contractors that finished ahead of time, right? Rather, it specifically had to be 14, 7 and 7 so that they don't mix. So at this point, we're looking at this pasuk and we're saying, what's the derivation? Where are we getting this from? That you can't mix one simcha with another simcha? Answer is that the pasuk went out of its way to say 14 days, 7 days, and 7 days.
This
Okay?
seems like it was scheduled then, not just because it was completed, but it was because it was specifically scheduled for that day.
It wasn't scheduled, but that was the day that it was completed. They could not push it off any further, so that was not a proof from there. But at the same time, from the fact that the Torah had to delineate 14 days, 7 days, and 7 days, as opposed to just telling me that they celebrated 14 days, and we'll figure out why they celebrated 14 days by ourselves. It's coming to tell you that these 7 and these 7 couldn't be together, even though practically they anyway couldn't be together. Okay? So the pasuk is telling us that halachically they couldn't be together. Okay? Amar Rabbi Parnach, Amar Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Parnach said the name of Yochanan. Ota sha'a, at that time, Ota shana, that year, lo asu Yisrael Yom Kippurim. The Jewish people, you know what, actually, it's already 7:25, so we'll pick up from here, Be'ezrat Hashem, next week. We're now going to learn, the next piece is to learn about how did they know that they were able to abolish Yom Kippur that year and eat and drink. And, like I know some of you are thinking, how do we get a little bit of that up in here? No, I'm sketching. Okay.
Jets win the Super Bowl.
Amen.